Women's wrestling isn't a draw, and that is according to one of women's wrestling's top pioneers, Alundra Blayze. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling, a channel where we say frequently that the women, A, aren't as good as the men, and B, that the women aren't really a draw. A lot of people would disagree with that. A lot of people would say that the women are just as good as the men. Well, we say to that absolute bullshit, and someone else who might think similar along those lines is WWE Hall of Famer Alundra Blayze, also known as Medusa. She's came out recently and says that WWE doesn't appeal to the majority when it comes to women's wrestling, and it simply just isn't on the same level as men's wrestling. Now, before we go over what Medusa had to say, give me your thoughts on Medusa. What did you think of Medusa? What's your opinions on Medusa?
I'll tell you what, right? I never rated Medusa, but I think that just sums up the state of the women's division back in the day, because she was made out as like the division's biggest draw. I think she easily was, but she wasn't that good. I should drop the title in the bin.
That's probably our most iconic moment.
See, name me a Medusa match.
Yeah, you can't. Is Medusa unfortunate to be in an era where women's wrestling... Now, they can say she's a pioneer for women's wrestling, but I don't think she done much for women's wrestling, for the simple fact is, I don't recall women's wrestling even being a thing back in her day.
True, but you could argue her dropping the title in the bin is the most one of the most iconic moments in women's wrestling history. I mean, you could talk about your Iron Women matches at NXT, TakeOver, whatever, Brooklyn, or, you know, the Hell in a Cell match Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks had, or whatever. But let's be real, her dropping the title in the bin is a symbol of the women's wrestling, and also was way more iconic than all of it.
Say 20 years time, if they do a wrestling show and you've got like it's like an opening package, her dropping the belt in the trash can could be one of the things that you see in the opening package.
Absolutely.
You're not going to see, here's a women's Royal Rumble, or here's a women's Money in the Bank. But anyway, yeah, Medusa, I never really rated her, but then again, that could be down to the fact that when she was wrestling, women's wrestling, I mean, they call it a piss break. It literally was a piss breaker, and she never really had anybody else good. She was kind of like the only person in the division. That's why I felt anyway, so.
And women's wrestling only got, I mean, semi-popular is when it was sexualised. No one cares about their wrestling ability.
Agreed. Anyway, this is what Medusa had to say about the whole thing. It's a little bit long-winded, so, you know, put your seatbelt on and we'll fly through this. Quote, okay, let me ask you a question. Why doesn't the women's WNBA sell out ever? The truth is the truth. It's an all-women's league. Women don't appeal to the majority. It is what it is, and it is a problem. However, why, Alex, does MMA women's sell-out show? Because it is brass, it is hard-hitting, it is believable, and it is gutsy, and it is badass. Who's sitting in the audience more than anything? Men. Who's sitting in the audience for wrestling? Mainly men. Look how every single woman comes out to the ring. Their hair is done, their makeup is thick, and they look beautiful. Every piece of clothing is perfect, right? But in MMA, it's authentic, it's real. Like right now, I have no makeup on except mascara and eyelashes. That's what people want. People want real. Now we have been so smoked and full of bullshit in the last few years that people are sick of it, right? People want something that's real. End of quote. So
that felt more like a dig on the current society rather than...
So Medusa is essentially coming out here and saying that people want, I guess they want reality, and that she believes that there's too much going into the appearance of these women, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, she suggests that the WWE women's division isn't doing great, the women's NBA isn't doing great. However, she suggests that women's MMA is doing great. I've got to disagree. I don't think women's MMA has ever done great. I mean, apart from Ronda Rousey, has there ever been a top legit star that's come out of women's MMA?
Chris Cyborg.
I doubt it. Chris Cyborg's more... She's more of a talking point because of the controversy that surrounds her, rather than her being like this big draw. Plus, another thing is, they don't really do all women's shows. I mean, she can say MMA does well, women's MMA does well, but how often are like women's matches just happen to be on a show that is being sold out by men?
Exactly.
It'd be interesting to see what all women MMA pay-per-views would do. Personally, I don't think they would do good. Like, they did do good under when Ronda Rousey was on top, but that's a long time ago. Plus, back then, Ronda Rousey was attractive. She was younger. I mean, you look at her now, and it kind of does go with the whole makeup and appearance look that Medusa mentioned. But, I mean, Ronda Rousey now looks really fucking unattractive. Nothing like she looked back in her MMA days. Back in her MMA days, she just looked more plain. She looked more simple. I mean, you look at the makeup and like like back in the day. I mean, they always make fun of the women in the past being more sexualized, but back in the day, you never seen Lita or Trish come out and they weren't like overly done with makeup. They never come out with hair extensions and all this stuff. Whereas that is literally what the entire roster has today. So, I mean, they can say that today they care more about, like, equality and, you know, women's rights and this and that, and the women are given a chance, yet, in my opinion, nowadays, the women put more focus on their looks than ever before. Thoughts on that?
Were you saying that, or Medusa saying that?
I'm saying that.
About their looks more than ever before?
I literally just said that.
That's what I'm saying, just making sure there. It was a big long statement from you. But yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. Back in the day, they never came out plastered with makeup. Now it's literally, I mean, you look at even Shayna Baszler, right? They make her look horrendous. Is that because they're trying to play up what Medusa said, the MMA, make it look real? I actually think if MMA, if they did come out plastered with makeup, it would do better. I think the fact that MMA is just real, shoot, fight, it's always going to do better. In terms of equality, rather than WWE, which is predetermined.
Well, I think with MMA, it's fucking real. The women are more concerned about going out winning a fight than having hair extensions.
Doesn't matter if I've got my mascara on. I'm going to break some legs and break some bones.
Now, that's kind of what Medusa did lead into that. She says that, you know, women's MMA is more authentic and that the care, it's just more real, whereas in WWE, they care more about their makeup and their hair, which is true. If women's wrestling's such a big thing these days, if the women being equal to the men is such a big thing, then why are they so focused on their appearance? Why do the likes of like Natalya and Charlotte Flair and all these people come out, and why do they look nothing like they looked when they debuted? Why are they having all these like surgeries? Why are they having all these like Botox and lip injections and all this stuff?
I know, that should be banned, honestly.
Now, you look at Trish and you look at Lita and you look at Stacey Keibler and you look at Tori Wilson. You look at when they first debuted in WWE or, you know, WCW, whatever. You look at when they first debuted and then you look at when they retired. They literally looked the same, other than the fact that they just aged.
Yep, I mean...
Now, yeah, did they go through maybe different appeal? Like, probably Lita out of them all maybe changed up her appearance a bit, did stuff with her hair, I get that. But you cannot say the same about a lot of the women today in wrestling. I mean, you look at Charlotte Flair, you look at Natalya. Natalya looks fuck all like she looked when she... And it's not just due to an age thing. It's like surgery and Botox and all that stuff.
I did 5 reasons why Bayley sucks, so I had to get a picture of the 4 horsewomen to see actually looking at Charlotte. It's
not the same person.
No.
It's not the fucking same person.
It's a plastic doll these days.
Natalya.
And that's not even that long ago.
Natalya as well. You look at Natalya 2008, not the same person as she is now. So I kind of do agree with Medusa in a sense that they seem to care more about their appearance now than ever.
Looking like Madonna. Absolute disaster.
Someone says Charlotte looks like Cher.
Well,
I can kind of see it, like.
I can kind of see it. Aye. If she was a bit paler, it'd be Cher right down to the T, or a jigsaw puppet.
True.
With a bit of plastic going on.
You know what? Charlotte actually looks a bit like Medusa now.
Yeah.
And she's got like 20 years on her.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Keep it rolling, Medusa.
It is what it is, but there you go. I mean, I don't really agree with Medusa's reasoning. Like, I don't think if the women came out now with no makeup on, I don't think all of a sudden it would be outdrawn the men. If Charlotte Flair came out with no makeup, I wouldn't exactly be like, oh yes, this is what I want, not Brock Lesnar. You know, I don't really.
I think if a few of them come out without no makeup, you would have to turn off the channel.
But then, is that true though? Because I think if Ronda Rousey came out with no makeup on, she'd look hell of a lot better. I don't think anything can make Shayna Baszler look better, so we'll leave her out of it.
I don't know, when you look at like Nia Jax and Doudrop, I'd be scared to think what they look without makeup. But I agree, Shayna Baszler doesn't look minus 10 out of 10 without the makeup, but with it, the raccoon mascara.
She looks same with Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey looks so much better in MMA, minus all this aesthetic looking shit. So, I mean, I kind of agree with what Alundra Blayze is saying here. I don't think we see completely eye to eye. I mean, I disagree with her on thinking that women's MMA is doing great. I don't think that either. But I don't think that women's wrestling. I think it's always been a sideshow. It's never been the main attraction. It never will be the main attraction. No matter how good it is, it's like the cruiserweight division. There's times the cruiserweight division's been better in some periods than it's been in other periods. Same with tag team wrestling. But it's never going to be the top draw. It's never going to be the main attraction.
No matter how much they try and 50-50 it and hammer it home, give them full shows, give them... I mean, you seen that at that pay-per-view recently where they're like, oh, there was no women on Raw 30, and then NXT, they basically dedicated the whole show to women.
Yeah, they had a record amount of women. They had like 24 women on the show.
How embarrassing is that? Triple H and Shawn Michaels fucking having to force that through because they received a bit of backlash. Vince wouldn't have gave a shit.
And I think that's the only reason it happened.
Of course it is. It's embarrassing, guys.
It's too much of a coincidence that they went from having pretty much nobody on the Raw to like having a record amount of women on it the next NXT 24 hours later. So
God damn it, man. What's Shawn and Triple H doing? Even then with Grayson Waller or Shawn Michaels acting like a card, he can't look behind him properly.
Is that because of his wonky eye, or?
Give Shawn Michaels a bit. See if any guy needs makeup or plastic work done, or an eye.
Or a smile.
Fuck, give him something, damn.
Give it a Shawn, damn it. But anyway, that's it, guys. Closing thoughts here on Medusa as we approach the 15-minute mark of this vid.
I think her point's almost right, but she kind of went the wrong way about it to get to it.
To me, she won the battle but lost the war. I agree with her that women's wrestling isn't a draw, but I don't think that I don't think we both have the same solution.
You answered the question to this vid within like 10 seconds of saying the vid. You just said they're not as good as the men.
End of story.
Yeah,
and on that note, guys, we'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.